My name is Sebastian. And my ex-wife, Anna, and I had been married for 2 years before she destroyed what we had. Anna and I were colleagues at one time. But after I got an offer from a more prominent company, I resigned. And that was when we began to date. Before that time, Anna and I were not really the colleagues that got along with each other. She was reserved and barely associated with different people except she was talked to. But despite being introverted, I still had a crazy crush on her. I can only tell her how I felt after I resigned because my former company was against coworkers dating. Luckily, when I told Anna how I felt about her, she admitted that she had the same feelings for me too. And in no time, we began to date. I loved Anna's commitment to hard work, her smiles, her energy, and those crystal blue eyes. We got along so well. And I enjoyed every moment I spent with her. And when I eventually asked her to marry me, she said yes. For me, money was not an issue because I earned a lot of money from the tech company I worked with. And this also played a significant role in how I care for Anna on my own. I would drop by clothing stores and buy her clothes, shoes, jewelry, and everything she wanted, whether expensive or not. I also did this because I loved it. When my woman looked good and classy, it boosted my ego. I really loved Anna and I wanted her to be happy at all times. But aside from that, when it came to Anna, I didn't mind if she shopped every week or every month because I considered it as investing in her. Even when we were about to buy a house, I allowed her to pick the house she liked despite not liking it that much because I believed that if she was happy, then I'd be happy. Yet, after everything I did for her, she went ahead and cheated on me with my blood. Everything was going fine between Anna and me. But after the incident of a flood that destroyed many houses last year, I was forced to let my cousin and his wife move in with us. They had to begin life from square one because they lost everything they had, and the least I could do was support them. So my cousin and his wife asked if they could move in with us until they got back on their feet. And after I discussed it with Anna, we decided to let them live with us. Anna was thrilled to receive them, and I was glad she would always have company at home, especially when I was not around. Also, the nature of her job allowed her to work from home, and it felt good to know that she would no longer feel lonely while she worked little. Did I know that I allowed my wife to cheat on me with my cousin? The funniest thing was his wife and I did not notice anything fishy. Whenever we returned from work, they'd act all cool with each other and didn't leave room for suspicion. My cousin, on the other hand, betrayed my trust and repaid me by screwing my wife whenever his wife and I went to work. One weekend, Anna went grocery shopping and asked me to help her fold the clothes in the closet. And that was how I stumbled on her diary tucked under a small pile of unfolded clothes. At first I didn't want to invade her privacy. But I was curious to know what a 28-year-old woman was writing about. And to my greatest surprise, I found out that my wife and my cousin had been sleeping with each other a month after they moved in with us. I could not believe my eyes, and I was heartbroken to find out she could do that to me. After everything I had done for her. A part of me wanted to throw her out as well as my cousin, but I wanted to hurt her for doing such a thing to me. I didn't even fold the clothes anymore because I didn't want her to find out that I knew I simply came up with an excuse that I wasn't feeling okay and she believed me. I continued to pretend everything was fine. But as soon as I got myself together, I contacted a lawyer and he started processing our divorce papers. I also made plans for my cousin because I wanted him to feel my pain. After a couple of weeks, I decided it was time to bust them. So I pretended to leave for work. But I hid in the tool shed of our house. When Anna and my cousin thought I left, they came outside, entered the car and began to kiss before they drove out. And I took pictures of them and sent it to my cousin's wife. I knew she'd come back home in anger, and she did. She initially denied everything until I showed her my pictures that morning. When she realized she could no longer lie, she began to cry and blame my cousin for seducing her. But it was too late. I kicked her and my cousin out of the house, informed her about the divorce papers, and warned her to stay away from me and my house. Some months later we divorced and I blocked her on all social media platforms. My cousin's wife divorced him too. And luckily for them, they didn't have a child yet. Even after the divorce, Anna tried to come to me a few times. But there was nothing I could do at that point. I hated everything about her. She wanted to tell me she was no longer with my cousin, but that was her loss. Not mine though. It's been a while. My heart still aches and I know it will be all over soon. But I'm way happier now and my new girlfriend and I are taking things one step at a time. I can't even imagine what it felt like for you to know that your wife was secretly sleeping with your own cousin. It must have really hurt you to know that your cousin broke your trust too and took your act of kindness for granted. It was really inhuman of them to do that. It's great that you divorced her and move on quickly because she did not deserve you in no time. You'll forget about her entirely and you'll be able to move on to better things. Thank you for sharing your story with us. Now, let's move on to the second story of the day. My wife and I had been married for 25 years, but in the end, I realized she was using me. I'm sharing this here because it has been a burden in my heart. And hopefully it will clear off after I share it. The first time Maya and I met was on Christmas Eve. I went shopping as usual to grab a few stuff for the celebration the next day. And unexpectedly, the mall I shopped at was out of stock, leaving me with the last pack of the stuff I needed. Maya was already shopping with her younger sister Kat. And when they realized I had the last box they needed, they were very disappointed when we were about to make payment at the counter. She kept complaining to the sales representative that her Christmas had just been ruined because of that. And she could not afford to go to the next mall, which was miles away. Finally, when she kept complaining, I was forced to pay for the stuff and hand it to her because of her sweet little sister. And I left the mall. About 3 days later, I met her again at the Christmas party my town organized, and she remembered me immediately. Then we were both very young and we hung out with each other the whole evening. Shortly after that, we became close friends, hung out with more, and eventually she became my girlfriend. Maya and I were so much in love and passed through many seasons of our lives together. We dated for 4 years and got married after that. The craziest thing was my family disapproved of Maya, to be precise. My dad didn't like her and he kept saying there was something about her that he could not place his fingers on, but I loved Maya and I wasn't going to let anyone separate us from each other. So I got married without my parents' approval, which worsened my relationship with them. Maya's parents, on the other hand, did not have any problem. They'd bless our marriage. And from there we went ahead to rent our own apartment. We started living together as a couple and I worked hard to make life easier for us. I didn't even go to college. I chose the carpentry career, and with the money I made from it, I had to sponsor Maya to college because I could see how much she wanted to further her education. To be honest, there was nothing that Maya wanted that I didn't give to her. Even after several years of being married to each other, we had 2 kids together and I did my best to provide for my family. When Maya finished college, she got a job and the pay was good, but I wasn't concerned about her money. I wanted her to be comfortable. So all she had to do was take care of minor bills. While I took care of rent and groceries, then we'd split the children's school fees. I made sure I gave her the dream life she wanted. And I had to make a lot of sacrifices for that to happen. Whenever I could, I'd buy her new stuff or give her money to go shopping at least once in 3 months. Of course, all our vacations and trips were solely my responsibility. But I didn't mind because she was my wife and I believed it was my responsibility to treat her right. And in all the 25 years of being married to her, I never cheated on her because I wouldn't tolerate her if she did the same thing to me. So I tried as much as possible to stay away from anything that would lead to infidelity on my side. Despite being married for so long, my parents refused to talk to me. So I never visited them for Christmas and our kids had only seen pictures of my parents because of that. I was forced to embrace Maya's family as my own. For example, when Martha's parents' house needed renovation, I paid heavily for that because I could not leave my work to renovate her parents' house. Martha didn't even contribute a dime because she believed it was my responsibility to do that as her parents' only son-in-law. And I didn't mind doing all of that too because they were the only family. I had everything was going well between us. We were a big happy family until Maya started falling sick when it didn't stop. As expected. We went to the hospital and she was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer and the doctor said she only had a few months to live. The news hit me like an explosion and I could not imagine losing Maya after spending all those years with her. My legs were weak. So I managed to sit on one of those long seats in the lobby while I was still trying to wrap my head around the bad news. I saw a man screaming at the same doctor who spoke to me at first. I thought he had lost someone because of how heartbroken he looked. But when the doctor came to me to confirm if I was Mr. Wesley, Maya's husband, and introduced the man yelling to be Maya's boyfriend, I felt my head spin. Maya's boyfriend and I stood there for minutes looking at each other in shock. When I finally calmed it down, I asked him how he had met Maya and he said he had been dating Maya for a very long time and she led him to believe that she was single and had divorced a very long time ago. He told me about their intimacy dates and how they had lunch every day. He even said that he had gotten a ring and was ready to propose to her until he got the news of her sickness, for how he spoke. It was undeniable that he had fallen deeply in love with Maya. I explained to him that Maya and I had been married for 25 years with 2 kids and I was even planning a surprise renewal of Vu's wedding on her birthday. Evidently, we both had plans for Maya, but she used us and lied to us, even breaking our promise of never cheating on each other. Finally, after crying for a while, Maya's boyfriend told me he was leaving the hospital and would never return because Maya deserved what she got. And that was the last time I saw him. I felt so used, lied to and backstabbed, and I couldn't help but agree that she deserved what she got. I even sat there for hours trying to convince myself that I had a bad dream, but it was not a bad dream. It was 100% reality. Finally, when I could put myself together, I picked up my dignity and paid Maya. The last visit I walked to her room door and saw her 2-up and IVs inserted in both hands. I wiped my last tears there in the hallway in front of her room door. And after I was done, I went to my car and drove off. Months later, her condition worsened as the doctors had predicted, and it got so bad that she got into a coma and depended on life support. Finally, when it looked like she would not get better, I signed that enough was enough and let her go. After she passed away, all of her properties and the things she owned were given to me. And I consider them as my pay for all the sacrifices I made for her. I don't think I'll ever be able to forget her and how she betrayed me. Finding out the truth must have been very hard for you, especially after 25 years of being married to Maya, to even think that you had a messy relationship with your parents because of Maya. And in the end, it was not worth it. Maya deserved what she got. She played you and threw away what you had with each other after dating for years and being married for 25 years. I'm genuinely sorry. And I understand that healing from this and getting over it is not going to be easy. But I know that you can do it, and no matter how you write it, I understand how deeply it hurts. I believe you need a lot of self-love and time with your children for now. You can take a break from relationships to heal properly. Then you can go back whenever you're ready, and if you're not, there's no problem with that. Remember that you're a strong man and we are all rooting for you. Thank you all for taking the time to listen to today's stories. If you enjoyed listening, please feel free to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also,